With the release of Superman approaching, the DCU is about to officially launch, and since James Gunn has worked for both Marvel and DC, that puts him in an interesting place with the ability to look at the histories of Marvel Studios and DC Studios to see what worked and what didn't. Not every movie in either studio is perfect, but there are definitely some wins on both sides. In this video, I want to go over 5 ways that James Gunn could learn from the MCU for crafting the new DCU. This first point already appears to be happening. Superman doesn't look like it's an origin story. Other heroes are already established in this movie, and based on the news we've gotten from other projects like Lanterns and The Brave and the Bold, those characters will already have a history of being superheroes. I think this is a smart move because it allows for the audience to be dropped in this fantastical world and connect the dots from context. This makes the world building a lot more entertaining for the audience because it forces us to ask questions instead of everything being explained to us. Like, imagine if Avatar: The Last Airbender started with Wan and it went chronologically from there. It wouldn't really be very interesting, would it? Plus, I don't really want to see 20 more origin stories again, like in the MCU. In hindsight, this is a problem that the MCU definitely had. The franchise started with Iron Man and continued to build off of that movie with origin stories for each character introduced after that. I get that this decision was necessary for the time, but I think we've moved beyond that as a society. Comic book fans already know the origins of these characters, and casual fans either don't care or will be able to still love the character if they're written well. They should be treated just like every other character in any other well-written movie. In Back to the Future, we don't see the origin of Doc and Marty and how they met each other or how they built their relationship. No, we're just dropped in at a certain point in their story and we're still able to enjoy it. This brings me to my second point. The MCU went pretty crazy when it came to these origin stories. Pretty much every character they wanted to introduce got their own movie or show, and since it's a connected universe, different storylines would weave in and out of different projects. This caused confusion and burnout with general audiences because if they missed a movie or didn't watch some of the Disney Plus shows, then they could be missing key elements or plot points in the next movie they did want to watch. It's really a fine line to balance because you want to see heroes team up together on screen, but also can't have major developments with characters or storylines? Well, then what's the point? To try to explain what I mean, let's look at the latest Captain America movie. Let's say you really like Captain America, so you've only seen Captain America movies and the Avengers movies. If you were to see Captain America: Brave New World, you'd be pretty lost. You would have needed to see the Falcon and Winter Soldier series to understand Sam Wilson's relationship with the Shield, how he became Captain America, and who Isaiah Bradley and Joaquin Torres are. You would have needed to see the Incredible Hulk movie to understand why Thunderbolt Ross and his daughter aren't on speaking terms and who Samuel Stearns is, and you would have also needed to see Eternals to understand why there's a big guy in the middle of the ocean. This is an example of people complaining about having to do homework to completely understand everything in the MCU. From what I've heard, it sounds like each DCU project is going to be stories that completely work within themselves and only have minor details that reference other projects, and I think that's the best way to do it. A big criticism of the MCU is that all their movies look and feel the same. Marvel has carefully crafted a formula of movie making that is digestible to the most amount of people, and to help with brand cohesion, which has been proven successful in the past. But after a while, it got pretty old because every character feels the same since they all have the same personality and they're all making the same amount of jokes. A lot of the movies don't really have any of the stylized vision of the directors that they bring in to direct these movies, since a lot of the action scenes are already being worked on before they start shooting. The DCEU even did this with Zack Snyder as the visionary all the way up until Justice League. Having Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the Suicide Squad, and the Justice League all have this darker tone. Then they transitioned their tone to be more in line with whatever Marvel was doing at the time. But that's so boring. I don't want all the movies to look and feel the same. I don't want all the characters to look and feel the same because they're different characters. Superman's movie should be vibrant, colorful, hopeful, all while a Batman movie can be a bit darker. But I don't even want to necessarily lock these characters into those boxes either. I think that the characters, tone, cinematography should all depend on the genre and what story they're trying to tell from film to film. Like, I could totally see a character like Wonder Woman on a dramatic, epic hero's journey akin to The Revenant or Wrath of the Titans, but could also see her in a lighter tone story that really displays her being an inspiring icon. Whatever best serves the story that the creators are trying to make. James Gunn has said that each director will have a lot more control over the projects they're directing, which just makes sense because the Swamp Thing movie shouldn't be like the Booster Gold series. I'm excited to see different directors have different approaches when directing different characters. Going off of the last point about brand cohesion and formulaic storytelling, a huge part of superhero movies are the superhero suits. This was an issue that's been talked to death of the MCU, but it's true. Most of their costumes have been over-designed, or they all have this design integrated into the suit in some capacity. A lot of them are either completely CGI or feel a little too tactical. Marvel was a bit reluctant to give anyone a comic book suit and try to make each suit sleek and tactical with the idea of what if superheroes actually existed in the real world. Roundtable has a great video about this, and he breaks it down even further if you haven't seen it already, but I think it's something that the fans are sick of seeing. I don't want to see the DCU take this approach when crafting their super suits. I feel like the DC universe is so much more fantastical than the Marvel universe. There's so many fictional places like Metropolis, Gotham, Bloodhaven, Star City, Fawcett City, the Mascara, Markovia, Bialia, and so on. Whereas the Marvel universe mostly takes place in New York. So far, I love what I've seen in the Superman trailers, and from the quick glimpses of the heroes in that movie, they look very well designed and comic accurate. I get that there needs to be some level of cohesion if it's in a connected universe, but all I want is a fresh approach to each character design and for them to be comic accurate. So far, pretty much all of James Gunn's character designs in his movies have been pretty much perfect, so I have faith. This is probably the most important point, and also the one, as a fan, I'm most fearful of. James Gunn has stated that there won't be a single project in the DCU that goes into production without a finished script that the production team is proud of. Which sounds like common sense, but there's a lot of movies that don't do this. At one point, it seemed that Marvel could do no wrong until they started pumping out a project about every financial quarter. There were projects that started production before scripts were finished, rushed VFX, and a lot of just mediocre projects as a result. However, where I'm worried is since the original slate announcement of 11 projects in Phase 1 back in 2023, there have been nearly a dozen additional project announcements since. According to Collider, James Gunn and Peter Safran plan to release 2 live-action films, 1 animated film, 2 live-action series, and 2 animated series per year. That's 7 projects every year. Even Marvel at their busiest never pushed out that much content in 1 year, much less every year. Except for this year, Marvel is planning to release 9 projects this year, so yeah. If there wasn't superhero fatigue before, then there definitely is a conversation that there is now. Don't get me wrong, as a comic book fan, I love it. I'm feasting. And now it seems like Marvel will actually have some real competition from DC. Hopefully it forces only the best from both studios. We're past the point of mediocre storytelling, and we are ready for new ways to tell stories in the comic book genre. Anyway, those are 5 ways I think the DCU can learn from the MCU, but what do you think? Do you agree with me, or are there other things that you'd like to see instead? If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss my next video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.